Hello and welcome to the Youth Empowerment in Military Careers Voice of Veterans podcast, where we highlight the stories, experiences, and lessons of those who have served in the military. We aim to honor their journeys and inspire the next generation of military innovators and leaders from our veterans. Today, we're joined by Phil Cazella, a former Navy service member, to share his experiences and insights from his time in service. Hello, Mr. Cazella. Thank you so much for joining us today. Could you start off by telling a bit about yourself and your role in the Navy?
Sure. Well, thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this to begin with. I'm honored to do so. A little bit about me. Well, I was born in New Jersey. My family's from the East Coast. I was raised in Florida. We moved there when I was a kid, so I kind
Mhm.
of grew up on the beach just south of Daytona. Loved to go out and surf. Probably spent a few too many days surfing rather than doing high school work, uh, which for me, unfortunately, meant I really didn't want to go right into college. So
Mhm.
that took me right after high school. I decided to join the Navy, do something different. Come from a long line of Army people, so I'm the one that bucked the system and decided to go join Uncle Sam's Canoe Club instead.
That's cool. Thank you so much for telling us a bit about who you are. So initially, what inspired you to join the Navy, and what was your basic training experience like? Because we know many people have different experiences, but we wanted to hear about yours.
Oh, I appreciate that. Everyone's experience is a little bit different, but yeah, I think there's plenty of similarities as
Mhm.
well. Um, so for me, my inspiration to join the Navy was really my love of the sea. As again, growing up in Florida, the family would take cruises and stuff
Mhm.
out of Cape Canaveral and go to the Bahamas and stuff. I had friends that had sailboats, and we'd go out sailing and doing things. Never really into fishing, but just really loved being at sea. Like I said, my got a long history of my family being in the Army.
Mhm.
My grandfather was in the Korean era. His father was World War II. His father was
Oh,
World War One, and then on my grandmother's side, both sides of the Civil War, all the way back to the Revolutionary War. So I really kind of bucked the trend and went Navy anyway. But it just kind of appealed to me. The other thing was I really liked the idea of the job.
mhm.
So one of the things a lot of people don't realize is when you join the military, sometimes you get to pick your job. So I did really well in my ASVAB, pretty inclined mechanically and electrically. So I did well there, and I got to pick the job that I wanted to do. So that really appealed to me as well. I wasn't just going to go, join and roll in the mud or chip paint on the deck or something like that. I was going to go do a job. So
Mhm.
that's what I did. Boot camp was a lot of fun, actually. It was only 8 weeks long. Navy boot camp's relatively short. It's not like the Marine Corps,
Mhm.
13 full weeks of running around, oorah, and that kind of stuff. Navy boot camp's a little different. I mean, yeah, you have to do the push-ups and kind of the normal break you down, but after about
Yeah.
4 weeks, they can't tell you to do any more push-ups than you there's no more getting sore.
Mhm.
You're strong, your muscles are good, so then it just becomes a head game, and it's just, can you get through the day? Can you pay attention to the details? Can you learn the things that you need to learn and get through it? Um, they also tell you when you join the military, don't volunteer yourself. Well,
Oh.
I didn't listen to them, and I raised my hand. They looked for someone that was gonna call cadence.
Oh,
So I
okay.
said, "I can do that, that way I'll stay out of trouble." Well, little did I know that meant I was, like, 2nd in charge of the group, and
Mhm.
then the guy that was in charge of the group didn't pass one of the easy tests, so he got rocked back. That put me in charge of the
Oh,
group.
wow.
So, for the remainder of the time there, I get to lead the company around, and anytime anybody screwed up, then I had to do push-ups too. So,
Oh.
it was just kind of a goofy thing, but, it's part of that camaraderie, right? Everybody's done it.
Yeah.
So anybody that's been part of that company, went through it and did that, and it's more of a mental challenge than
Mhm.
anything. It's hard to keep your mouth shut. It's hard to do what you're told and pay attention to all the little details. But overall, I thought it was pretty fun, and, get to graduation day, and the family came up from Florida for that, and you're just really proud to put on the uniform and know that you've done something for yourself for the first time.
And I know you stated about how you like that you could choose your career. What career path did you choose at the end of the day, and what was your experience like in that?
Yeah, it was for again, since I did well in the ASVAB, I really could choose just about any job that was offered, as long as there was a school available. That's really the trick is, they've got different schools that start at different times throughout the year, so they can only fit so many people in those classes, right?
Mhm.
Can't have everybody do the same job.
Yeah.
So, depending on what jobs are open, well, it just so happened to be when I went to what they call MEPS, the Military Enlistment Processing Center, do the medical and all that stuff, and you sit down with a detailer and you figure out what your job could be. They offered me to be it's called a fire controlman. It's
Mhm.
an electronics technician. for weapon systems and radars.
Wow.
So it's kind of like an electronics tech, but very specialized. Not an electrician, not working on motors so much, but like fixing the radars, computers, and consoles that work the weapon systems. So my recruiter actually was a sonar tech. So he had worked with that same kind of job, people in that job as well. And he about came across the desk and was like, if you don't take this, you're a goof. Like, all right, good. That sounds good for me. So I'll do that. Little did I know how much schooling it was going to take. I remember I told you I didn't do so great in high school because I was surfing too much. I thought, I'm not going to go sit in a classroom. Well, that's what I did for a year and a half, was to learn how to do all of that.
Cool.
I know you said that you have enlisted. Was there a certain moment early in your service that genuinely stood out to you?
A moment early in my service that stood out to me.
Maybe like when you're learning in the classroom
It,
or
I
for
think
your career?
yeah, every once in a while you have these aha moments where you really get to learn a little bit more about yourself.
Like a light bulb?
Yeah. So for me, like I said, the first school that I had to go to for electronics was actually really long. It was 35 weeks, 8 hours a day, Monday through Thursday, and then Friday you take a test. And if you didn't pass the test, you get one more shot in the afternoon. If you failed that, you had to go back and do the week again.
Oh,
So
8
it was
hours
really
a
high
day.
pressure, right?
Yeah.
And I always tried to do everything I could to try and learn as much as I could. But about halfway through it, I had one of those days. I had one of those weeks. I just couldn't get it. I wasn't into it. I didn't quite understand it. And so I had to go back. I had to fall back to a different class. And in that time, it really gave me a chance to think about how I'm applying myself. Am I really paying attention? Am I really trying to learn? Do I really want to be here to do this? So for me, it was an aha moment, and that I realized from then on, I was never gonna fail another test. And if I was in a classroom, I'm gonna learn it to the best of my ability because I'm the only one that's gonna benefit from it anyway. I might as well learn everything I could. And that was the last time I failed a test.
Oh.
I passed every week all the rest of the way through. On the next school, I was top of my class from there, and every class I've ever taken ever since. So that was for me. That was that intrinsic change that said, "Do this for me, not for anybody else. I'm not doing this for my parents. I'm not doing this for my friends, but I'm doing this for me, and I have one shot to get this right."
Your schooling sounded really rough and rigorous. What coping methods did you use to help with your stress that you must have faced?
Yeah, it was really stressful. I think you hear a lot when you talk to veterans about the camaraderie, right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that they always tout and they always talk about afterwards. Well, it's not just when you get out; it's while you're in too. And I think if it wasn't for some of the friends that I had made, working with each other, trying to learn things, because we're all struggling through the same stuff.
Yeah.
After class or in between classes on breaks, leaning on each other. And that's when you really got to understand what teamwork really was. I might understand something, I could explain it, or I'm completely lost and somebody else could explain it. But we did the best we could. And then on the weekends, we let our hair down. We had some fun. Uh, the Navy schools also are the schools for the Coast Guard. A lot of people don't know that. So, because the Coast Guard doesn't have their own full schools. So, in the class that I rocked back into was actually primarily Coast Guard, which was really neat. Now, these were few years older. They'd already been in the fleet, so they were a little bit more mature. Um, so I was their token sailor guy that we got to hang out with. And we'd play paintballs on weekends and do other things and kind of really become really good friends. So that way, during the week or during a class that we were struggling in, we knew we could reach out to them and we had that friendship. So I'd say that was probably the greatest way to get through that.
And I find that it's really impressive the way that you didn't just think about your destination, you actually thought it through the journey. A lot of people focus on the destination itself, but sometimes it is really about the journey too.
Absolutely.
And do you just mind sharing a story that might have stayed with you long after service that you still think about today?
Well, there's lots of fun stories. There's lots of fun, silly things. I mean, you get through class, you get through the school, and then you have a job, right? You have a job to do, and you've got in my case, I had a ship to go to in the morning, or when I was a junior enlisted, I lived on the ship anyway. So just got up and went downstairs and grabbed a bite to eat. But there's lots of fun stuff. Some things that might have stuck with me afterwards. Probably just some of the jokes and pranks and playing around. I said my first ship was a smaller ship. It was a destroyer. But later on, I got to be on a pre-commissioning crew for a carrier, which was fun. So I got to be in the shipyards while they're still building it. The carrier experience was very different than the small ship. The small ship, it was more like a frat house. It was only guys. We didn't have any ladies on that ship. They hadn't outfitted that ship for females yet. So it was just like a big frat house. But the carrier, it was more like a small city.
Mhm.
So uh, I look back fondly on some of the downtimes in between. We would be out at sea and just be kind of cruising around. I'd grab a guitar, somebody else would grab a guitar, and we'd sit on the in the hangar deck and just sing songs and hang out. And for an hour or so, just forget that we were even in the Navy. Right, we're just there as
Yeah.
friends, hanging out and playing. Either that or going back to one of the spaces and playing a video game or something like that. But for me, that was fun, and those are the things
Mhm.
that really bonded us together.
Do you have any fun songs you like to play
Fun songs I
on the
like to play?
guitar?
Mhm.
Um, we'll see. Back then, uh, they were, guess what you call classic rock now, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So they were,
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin songs or uh, Van Halen songs or just stuff country music. I was really into
Country
country music
Mhm.
music.
at that time.
Yeah.
A lot of places to go two-stepping and hanging around military bases. You usually
Mm.
find a few country bars to go hang out.
Cool. And what do you think is like most commonly misunderstood of the military? Because there's a lot of different stereotypes, and are there any you want to defy here?
Yeah, there are a lot of stereotypes.
Mhm.
Um, I think a lot of times when people hear that I was a member of the military, well, one, they don't really have an idea of what that means,
Yeah.
right? Most people only think of the military for what they see on CNN or
Yes.
on the news or what they
Definitely.
read in the papers or what they saw in a movie.
Mhm.
And a lot of times that's, I wouldn't say it's sensationalized, but it's a very small slice
Mhm.
of, uh, fighting and things like that. But my experience is the military is really just a big company.
Mhm.
I mean, where else can you have a company that's not only going to hire people, but then train them to do the job, give them a place
Mhm.
to sleep, food to eat, clothing to wear, and give them a guaranteed job for at least 4 years.
Mhm.
They don't the military doesn't hire somebody, based on their resume that says they already know how to do the job, like,
Yeah.
if you're gonna go get a job someplace else
Mhm.
where you're expected to already know how to do it, they hire from the ground up. It's a little different, but what does the thing that does is it makes sure that the people they hire, that they can trust, right? Because
Yes.
everyone's
Yeah.
background checked, everyone's been looked at, everyone's gone through this process. So you really trust one another to
Mhm.
do the job. But at the end of the day, it's really just a big company. I mean, there's cooks, there's people that have to do maintenance on aircrafts, there's people
Mhm.
that have to do, fix the air conditioners, right? There's still people that have to handle the storekeeping and the supplies and,
Yeah.
I mean, it's got a little bit of everything. There's HR, there's IT.
Multiple careers.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
just about every career you can think of in any other company,
And
Yeah.
they're all needed.
they're all there,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
somebody has to do that job. They can't outsource a part of the ship to somebody else to do it. They have
Yeah.
to have people there to do those jobs,
For sure.
or on a base or anywhere else. They have to do the job. So it's a big company, and I would encourage people that to think of looking at it as more of you're just a government employee,
Mhm.
and the department that I happened to work in was the Navy.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people have watched Top Gun, for example, and
Oh
they
yeah.
based off the Navy. I feel like people just think of cool aviator glasses and then those
Hmm.
fighter jets, and then they make their conclusions of the military through that way. So it's
Yeah,
really cool
I'm
how.
pretty sure Tom Cruise did more for Ray-Ban's, sales quota than
Yeah,
anything else they could have ever
for
done.
sure.
Yeah, that was a big thing
Yeah.
for me. I mean, the first one came out when I was younger, and I remember going and seeing that in the theater. One of the gentlemen that lived in the where I grew up actually went to Top Gun. He
Oh.
graduated from Top Gun. He was an instructor at Top Gun. So it was kind of neat to see that and go, "Well, that's
Mhm.
really what he did." So yeah, but that was probably some of it. I mean, that was sensationalized too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Um, how did these experiences, deployment, or your overall role impact your perspective on daily life and leadership to this day?
Well, regardless of where you are in the military,
Mhm.
you're usually in charge of something,
Yeah.
even if it's just in charge of yourself and the things that you're working on. But it's not too long before you start being in charge of other people. You're in charge of a workspace. You're in charge of an area, or a whole weapon system, or something else. I would say it definitely impressed upon me the need to be a peer leader, right? Because while I may have outranked them, pulling rank isn't going to make any sense,
Mhm.
right? You still need at the end of the day to get things done. You still
Yeah.
need to learn how to get along. You still need to learn how to make relationships and friendships. If I needed something from supply, I better have a friend down there that I can
Mhm.
walk down there and with that piece of paper and get in front of the line so I can get my system fixed. So I think I still hold that to today is being a leader isn't about barking orders. It's about making sure that you work together as a team. And
Mhm.
if you're in charge, I'm there to coordinate, facilitate, making sure things get done more than saying, just, being barking orders.
Definitely. Yeah.
Do you think it's important having connections in the military?
Well, you can, like any company or any big school, right?
Yeah.
There's always going to be that
Yeah.
group, that alumni, and there's going to be those connections. I tend to find when I meet other veterans in the
Mhm.
community, we have an instant connection. It doesn't matter what branch. Yeah,
Mhm.
we'll rib each other a little bit if they're
Yeah.
Marines. We'll tell them that
Yeah.
ask them how the crayons were for breakfast, right? Um, we've all kind of got our little ways, to kind of rib each other a little bit,
Yeah.
but there's a mutual respect
Yeah.
that
Definitely.
we know that they did the same, that they raised their hand same as we did, that
Mhm.
they were willing to do whatever it took to get their job done, no matter what their job was,
Yeah.
even before we share stories or of what we did. Um, it's an alumni, it's a community. There's, I think, less than 4% of the country
Yeah.
are part of that community, right? So it's tight knit, but we have that
Mhm.
mutual respect even before we share
Yeah.
stories.
And I know you shared that statistic. Like, how do you think potentially we could raise that up higher for young individuals like watching this right now?
Well, I don't necessarily think it needs to raise up,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
again, it's a company.
Yes.
I don't think that serving in the military or being a part of that company is for everybody.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
For sure.
Doesn't fit everybody's lifestyle. It doesn't fit everybody's career path.
Mhm.
For me, it was an opportunity to do something outside of where I grew up. It was a chance
Yes.
to go learn something new, go have some fun, be on my own and go do that. And I was very fortunate to be able to do that.
Mhm.
Not everybody can for one reason or another, or they choose a career path that requires that they go to college or they take a different direction. No problem. You know,
Mhm.
our fighting force, if you want to call it that, the armed forces, has limited number of spots.
Yeah.
We don't need to have a billion people
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
military. Um, but I do believe that serving in public service in some capacity is a way that everybody should grow,
Mhm.
whether that's spending 3 or 4 years serving in armed forces or the Peace Corps or working with FEMA or some other opportunity to serve in a public way.
Mhm.
I think that helps an individual learn who they are,
Yeah.
helps them grow up a little bit in that. So yeah, I don't know if it needs to increase more than it is.
Mhm.
It's a tight knit group,
Yeah.
that's for sure.
I mean, for those who are interested in considering pursuing a military career, what general advice would you give to them?
General advice, well, if someone's interested in, I'd say first research.
Yeah.
Research?
More than just online, right? We
Yeah.
can't just be staring at the phone to answer the
Mhm.
questions.
Yeah.
Much like you guys are, ask questions, talk to other people, research what kind of jobs there are. And again,
Mhm.
it's not just the brochure or the thing that you saw on TV. Look online, find out what are some of the other jobs. Talk to a recruiter and find out, what kind of things you're interested in. But if you're really serious about looking at it as a career, there's really two ways. One is an enlisted, or two is an officer.
Mhm.
The difference really is whether you want to be a people manager or you want to learn a trade. Kind of look at it that way.
Mhm.
Right? So enlisted, it's going to be a trade. They're going to teach you a school, and that starts with the ASVAB. So as you
Yeah.
become
Yeah.
a sophomore or junior in high school,
Mhm.
they start talking about this, and it's not an SATs. It's not, can you do how well can you do on the math or the English side? It's what experiences have you had and where do you have an aptitude for learning? For me, I like electronics. I liked electricity and mechanics and things like that. So I did really well and I was offered lots of different things I could do.
Mhm.
So if someone's really interested and they're not going to go to college first and then go into the military as an officer,
Mhm.
they're just looking to enlist. I'd say talk to people,
Yeah.
learn about the different things and whatever interests you, study it and do the best you can on the ASVAB. That's really what opens those doors.
Okay. And were there any words of advice or any morals that you received during your time in service
Uh,
from peers or
so advice, um, advice that I received I think it kind of happens throughout. So I can't really like pinpoint like one quote that
Yeah.
someone might have given me
Mhm.
that really, really stuck with me. Uh, I think most of it was really just, that day-to-day advice, which
Yes.
was more
Yeah.
encouragement than anything. Right?
Mhm.
Keep going, keep working on it. You've
Mhm.
got this, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to learn that I can do it. Right? There isn't anybody else there that's going to get it
Mhm.
done. If we're
Yeah.
underway, I mean, there was times where the system that I worked on wasn't working, and there isn't anybody else that's going to fix it but me and my team.
Yeah.
And we have to fix it. We don't have a choice. I can't
Mhm.
call somebody up. I can't say, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to go home. I'm in the middle of the ocean. What am I going to
Yes.
do?
Yeah.
Right. So I've got to get it done.
Mhm.
So that perseverance is really important. But the encouragement from the senior enlisted and from the officers,
Yes.
that kind of sticks with you and that helps you grow.
And what was your first experience at sea like?
My first experience at sea. Oh, well, I don't know. I can't remember my exact first time going out to sea, but it was on the destroyer.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, and a destroyer is only about 50 feet wide and about 300 feet long.
Mm.
So it's kind of a pencil in the water.
Yeah.
And
Thin.
we were in at Norfolk, Virginia, so it's East Coast side. Um, and we'd go out for a week or two and back for a week or two. The ship itself had just come through a maintenance period, so they were trying to fix
Oh,
everything.
I see.
And the weapon system I got was completely broken, so I had to fix it from the ground up. So we'd go out for a week or two, but it wasn't too long. This was in the fall before there was hurricane.
Oh.
So if you ever, being on the West Coast here, you don't necessarily see and
Yeah.
about how hurricanes go. But when they come right up the East Coast, all of those ships that are at port all have to go out in the water because you can't have them tied up against the pier when a hurricane comes through.
Mhm.
So we'd all have to go out in the water, and you got all this chummy water pushed up with the hurricane. We'd have to circle around behind it and go back in. Well, like I said, I grew up at the beach. I grew up going on small ships. I don't get seasick.
Mhm.
Cannot say the same for everybody else that was on
Yeah.
that ship.
Yeah, I definitely get
So,
seasick.
yeah, and once you start getting seasick, it's bad. So,
Yeah.
I think probably one of my first recollections of being on the ship, we had to go out because there was a hurricane,
Mhm.
and for 3 days, we were going up, pitch, roll, and yaw in
Wow.
25 to 30-foot swells.
Insane.
It was bad. Yeah, I had
Yeah.
everything closed up, got water coming over the top of the ship, and half the ship was sick after about a day and a half. It was a crazy ride. It was
Yeah.
a crazy ride. And then we finally got back in. It probably took about another 2 or 3 days before I could walk straight because
Wow.
you're all
Yeah.
off balance. So, but you just kinda get used to it.
Yeah.
So, I thought it was fun. I almost
Mhm.
thought it was funny that everybody else was getting like, "Why did you join the Navy if you get this seasick? Why are you on a ship?"
Yeah. And what about mentally? Like, did you ever miss home or things that you couldn't have while you were,
Out at
like,
sea.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I joined at 19 years old.
Mhm.
So I wasn't married. Some people join much later on, or they get married while they're in.
Yeah.
I didn't have a wife. I
Mhm.
didn't have somebody at home. It was just me.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit more freer in that I didn't have, wasn't really longing to go home to see
Mhm.
somebody
Yeah.
specifically. I had a girlfriend here and there. We date while we're at home, but if we're out, we're doing what we got to do.
Mhm.
I'm just
Yeah.
out at sea. So I didn't have that. It was always nice coming home.
Mhm.
Once I got, later on in rank, then I could have an apartment.
Mhm.
So you get off work, you get to put your civilian clothes back on and go
Yeah.
watch some TV and relax or whatever. Go to the bar. It's just a job.
Yeah.
Um, how did your mindset change from when you first joined to when you left?
I had no real idea what I was getting into when I started.
When you first
Mhm.
joined?
I didn't,
Yeah.
right? All I had was what I saw on Top Gun and other places and other stores. So I had no idea what I was getting
Yeah.
into. Um, I think by the time I got out, I understood that the value of what I learned, the experiences. I enlisted initially for 4 years with a 2-year extension when I passed the school because the schools were so long. So it was 6 years. I spent 6 years, and then I was ready to go do something else.
Mhm.
But I think my perspective and understanding of the mission of what the military really is from the inside definitely changed, and I had a new appreciation for those who were continuing to do that. Those who wanna make it a career, great. That fits what they wanna do. I have a cousin right now. He was going through college when I was in the Navy. He's now a major general. in the Army. He's still serving today, and he loves it. I got a chance to catch up with him a couple of years ago when he was at the Pentagon, and he loves it a lot, and that's great, right? We need people that want to say this is their job, this is what they're into, and that's the company they want to work for. But it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But it would definitely
Sure.
change my perspective on the role and the people that are in the military, because 99% of them aren't what you see in the video games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just doing their job. They got friends, they got family. At the end of the day, they're just a government employee as well, doing the best they can.
Mm.
Today, do you still use the skills that you have learned or adapted from the Navy in your life?
I did specifically use the training from the Navy when I first got out. So as I said, I learned electronics, right? I had to learn how to fix computers and
Yeah.
radars, and so by the time I got out, I could fix just about anything. If I
Wow.
had the schematic for it, no problem. 'Cause I worked on a really old piece of junk, which
Mhm.
meant I had to practice a lot.
Yeah.
3 days off of the ship when I got done, and 3 days later, I had a job. And at the time, well, an equivalent today would be about $40 an hour job. 25 years old. So this was back in 2000, it was about $20 an hour,
Mhm.
and moved out on my own, had a guaranteed job. Doing exactly what I had learned in the military, fixing things, working on electronics, working on mechanics and fixing things. So that's what brought me into the semiconductor industry.
Yeah, you already had the necessary skills.
Yeah, I could fix it. If it broke, I'm like, give me the schematic. No problem. And I mean, I enjoyed doing that. So the Navy really taught me how to take that initiative and to not be scared of it. If I hadn't seen it before, figure it out.
And not only has the Navy taught you that, I see it's taught you perseverance and
Absolutely.
resilience,
Yes. Yeah.
not giving up when you face challenges.
Yeah, we'll never give up, right?
Yeah.
Like I
Mhm.
said, when I was in, didn't have a choice. I had to get it fixed.
Yeah.
Had to do the work. I could call on people, I could ask, but at the end of the day, I was still responsible for
Yeah.
things. So, learning how to take responsibility for that kind of stuff, you don't really get too many of a chances to do that when you're 21,
Mhm.
20 or
Yeah.
21 years old. So they put a lot of responsibility on me. Here I was 20 or 21 years old, and I was in charge of a multi-million-dollar weapon system. That was crazy, right? So after I got out, yeah, you want me to fix something? Sure, no problem. So and I did that for quite a long time, and it really helped kind of shape me in the semiconductor industry, working on these really expensive pieces of equipment,
Mhm.
knowing that I could fix it. But that perseverance stuck with me more than just the day to day work,
Yeah.
right? It was on myself. Went back to school, knew I was going to pass every class I ever took.
Mhm.
I also
Right?
feel like it's a skill that you need like throughout the rest of your entire life.
Yes.
It becomes foundational, right?
Yeah.
It's who you are, and like I said, when I meet other veterans or we talk with other vets, they'll tell me what their job was. I know they had to put time in.
Mhm.
They had to go through it as well. They had to learn how to take charge, take responsibility, and consequently, it, it's a little bit of a different background, right? When you're
Yeah.
talking to someone that was in the military versus someone who wasn't. Now, I'm not saying that people that were in the military are better than anybody else.
Yeah.
They just had a different way of accomplishing the same thing, a different experience path.
I think you've gotten so many experiences, like even at 20, as compared to people with other jobs today.
Oh, yeah.
And that's definitely a lot cooler, I feel.
Yeah.
But if you could go back, would you ever do anything differently?
Would I do something differently? Um, there's probably a few ports in the Caribbean that I would have not drank nearly as much. Come on, I'm a sailor. I gotta tell you, right? There was a dumb sailor in a few places.
Mhm.
Probably wouldn't do that again. Um, but I think overall, the experience that I had was great.
Yeah.
I really can't complain about the opportunities I was given, about the people that I worked with.
Mm.
There were a few people I didn't get along with. I'm not saying everybody was great.
Yeah.
There was a few people that I wasn't sure that somebody else was gonna make it back to port. I might have a man overboard drill. Um, but in general, I really wouldn't change
Mhm.
almost anything. I think, I enjoyed the time I did and led me to where to have the career I did afterwards, right? To
Yeah,
get in the semiconductor
for
industry,
sure.
to get into project management, to get into software development, to continue to grow afterwards. I wouldn't
Mhm.
be who I am today had I not had that experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Mr. Cazella, for sharing your story and insight. Is there anything else you'd like our listeners, especially young people interested in military careers, to know before we'd wrap up?
Uh, well, first of all, or last of all, thank you so much
Yeah.
for this great. This has been a lot of fun. Really enjoyed the questions and going down memory lane a little bit. I do get an opportunity to talk to a lot of high school students in my role with an American
Mhm.
Legion, just encouraging them to do things. So I would probably say to any individual, whether they're high school or after post high school or in a job, to look at the opportunities the military can afford as
Yeah.
a better trade school than you're going to get anywhere else. Yeah. You can go to college, you can go to trade school, you can go try and figure things out. But here's a company that's going to teach you a job. Make sure that you've always got a place to sleep, clothes to wear, food to eat. If you are married, they're going to make sure they're taking care of you as well. You're part of the
Mm.
family, right? So it is a family.
Yeah.
And if it's something that interests you, give it a try. I mean, there's 3 or 4 year contracts to learn a job, learn a skill. The benefits individually are great. The benefits afterwards
Mhm.
are also great. And a lot of times you look at a career and think, okay, well, I want to work for this company for these benefits, or I want to have these things. There's a lot of benefits to being a veteran. It's a good time in the U.S. to be a veteran. The government treats us well, people treat us well, but there's just a lot of things, and those connections that you make are more than just the people you met. Like I said, when I talk to other veterans, right, we have that networking.
Yeah.
So
You're still in touch with them.
still in touch with a lot of friends that I
Wow.
served with, but even in the community, if I need something, if I'm on LinkedIn or I'm reaching out to
Mhm.
somebody to because I need to want to partner with them on something,
Yes.
I'm looking for other veterans,
Yeah.
right? So there's that networking opportunity that a lot of people don't see.
Once a sailor, always a sailor. It was our pleasure to have you here today.
Well,
Yes.
Thank you
thank you.
so much for
Thank
your
you.
time. And you served as you gave us a lot of insight, especially for our young viewers out there. So thank you so much.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you.